美国时事通，我是罗文。今天是2025年11月25号星期二，感恩节要到了哈，提前祝大家感恩节快乐，谢谢大家1年以来的关注和支持。昨天有一个很大的消息哈，就是克林顿任命的联邦法官把对前 FBI 局长 James Comey 和纽约总检察长 Letitia James 的这个指控取消了哈，给他扔掉了，就说这个不符合程序，说这个联邦检察官 Lindsay Halligan 的任命过程有瑕疵哈。但是即使是 Lindsay Halligan 自己的起诉的这么诸多案件中，只有这2个被抛出来了，所以你可以看到这是强烈的政治倾向哈。那当然白宫新闻发言人就说，你们不要高兴得太早哈 Letitia James 或者是 James Comey， 你们现在来庆祝的话最好踩一下急刹车，因为我们很快的会重新起诉你们。而川普之前的为他弹劾辩护的这个律师David Shaw 就表示说，其实这个情况完全是应该可以避免的哈。这个法官并没有就这个案子的 merit， 就是是非曲折来做一个判断哈。也就是说，他所有的这些证据并没有被批驳，还是有效的。在这样的情况下，再重新来过就可以了。但是他说这个情况是可以完全避免的，就是司法部应该想到这一点，并且司法部完全可以避免这个事。怎么避免呢？就是说他们只要派另外一个人跟哈勒根站在一起就可以了。他之前他们为了诬告川普总统，把司法部的第3号人物派到和地区检察长一起工作，就证明他们的工作非常的严密。而我们现在目前司法部的，我个人觉得我觉得是 Pam Bondi 他没有什么经验毕竟他没有做过司法部长，他只做过佛罗里达的检察长，所以他对司法部和下边的这个程序可能还不是特别清楚，所以民主党在这上面挑了一个错。这个是川普的前律师在 Fox 上采访的时候说的话。
Some of the procedural stuff here is in question, but you say this was avoidable. How so?
It was avoidable because, quite frankly, the Justice Department should have just put somebody in the room with Lindsay Halligan and would have taken away all of the arguments for dismissal, quite frankly, based on all the decisions around the country. I still don't think the decision is right, but it was avoidable in that sense. I give Lindsay Halligan great credit, and she showed great courage here. She looked at the facts and the evidence. She saw that there was a wrong committed, and she got an indictment. She was put in this position, and she should have had more support than she was given. But it's not a major setback for the Trump administration or anything like that. It was obviously, it was going to happen. But I think they're wrong in the arguments for a couple of reasons. There's some pretty esteemed scholars, Steve Calabrese, Paul Cassell, who have explained why the courts just have it wrong with this. Professor Calabrese says this section of the law, 546, is unconstitutional. It invades the executive power. And he cites a couple of recent cases that talk about the exclusive executive power, and here to appoint a representative of the executive branch. Cassell says it's constitutional, but that the president has the right to appoint successive interim U.S. attorneys, or in this case, she could act as acting U.S. attorney. We see in the case in California with Bilal Asaili that he continued to go on as first assistant. So, again, I give great credit to Ms. Halligan. But the other point I would make here is this. These are public figures. First of all, the hypocrisy of the argument now, given the position these folks took with Jack Smith. But in any event, putting that aside, these are public figures. Why not deal with these cases on the merits? They're going to have to sooner or later because they will be reindicted. And if you read the Ms. James indictment carefully, and of course, everyone's entitled to the presumption of innocence, if you read it carefully, they have her coming and going if they can prove the allegations in the indictment. First, she claimed a secondary home, which means she has to have certain personal use days, 14 days a year. But in her tax schedule, according to the indictment at least, she said 0 personal days in the home. I would ask questions like, did she have an insurance policy? What did she put on her application? Did she make a claim? What was her capacity there? I think that case is going to be a slam dunk, quite frankly.
所以我相信很快面对他们2个人的起诉马上就要重新开始了哈，这是第一个重磅的新闻，大家可能会很愤怒的，但是我觉得从大部分法学家的眼睛里看来没有什么问题的哈，我们仍然会在这个案子上胜诉，一定要把他们捉拿到底。那同时这2天我一直接连在报道就6个立法者 煽动叛乱的事哈。有的人不以为然，有人就说啊，川普说，很多左媒也在说啊，川普说要绞死他们，川普从来没有说要绞死他们。如果您自己没有看新闻，最好把川普的原文拿出来看一下哈。川普在真实社交媒体上说得很清楚，他说如果这个是搁着乔治华盛顿总统的话，他早就把他们绞死了。那他只是在说当时的一个状况，你这就是叛国，以前叛国罪就是被绞死的。他并没有说我要绞死他们哈。所以我觉得这些带路者非常的可耻，这些左媒不惜一切去反对川普也非常的可耻哈。就在他们无论如何也问不出6个立法者到底川普发了什么样的非法命令的情况下，有一个民主党的立法者跑出来挑衅了哈。亚利桑那的民主党的参议员 Ruben Gallego 就出来挑战了哈。他现在在退伍军人委员会哈，他就威胁五角大楼的这些军人们说，你们现在来调查这个所谓煽动叛乱的事，但我警告你哈，Donald Trump 只在任2-3年他就要走人了，但是你们会长期在这儿的，你们仍然在部队的，所以你们要记着，如果你们现在在追查现任的参议员政府武器化的话，那最后你们会承担后果的，是以他们的前途和以他们的职业生涯来威胁他们。我们可以看一下这个原文哈。
Into Senator Kelly. What is your level of trust in the U.S. military justice system, if it were to get that far, to handle this?
I trust them actually a lot, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, these are professionals. They are also swearing to the Constitution of the United States. They know that there will be fallout and consequences if they are used in a hard way to basically railroad someone like Senator Kelly, because Donald Trump's going to be gone a couple of years. And if you're part of the military that is going after sitting senators, sitting members of Congress, and part of the weaponization of government, there will be consequences, without a doubt. So I think there's going to be a lot of officers that are going to be part of this potential tribunal, if they want to call it that. They're going to be looking over their shoulders because they know that Donald Trump will be gone and they will not have that protection. They're going to have to do the safest thing possible, which is follow the Constitution of the United States, and you'll be fine.
所以你看哈，这个民主党的参议员有多么的无耻，居然在威胁五角大楼的这些调查煽动叛乱的参议员，而且借着他是退伍军人委员会的成员的身份哈，真的非常非常的可耻。所以这就是民主党人不仅没有悔改，反而变本加厉在威胁军方。实际上这6个人不是突然想起来，好像一拍脑袋就做了这个事的哈。昨天有2个 CIA 的情报人员爆料，就说这就是 CIA 的一个套路哈，是他们的操作手法。首先就是找一些比较有影响力的人，比方说前军方的或者是前 CIA 的情报人员或者是高级将领，表明他们说话是有身份的。其次来编造谎言，说假设川普发布了不合法的命令，那你们怎么办呢？那最后 solution 就是你们要坚决抵抗啊。所以这是一个套路，说这就是他们的 playbook， 我们可以听一下。
So I talked to 2 CIA officers who said that this is a part of a larger hoax, and what they're doing here is they're trying to condition the country to prepare for something bad that's about to happen at the hands of Donald Trump. It's straight out of the CIA playbook. It's a destabilization operation where you get people to mistrust each other. And you do this because she's an analyst. And as an analyst, she would make sure what propaganda operations were successful, which ones weren't. So she knows what works. So the first part of the video, you establish authority. I'm CIA, I'm military, you need to trust us. Second part of the video, they introduce the threat. And the threat's not foreign, the threat's domestic, the threat's Donald Trump. And then at the end, they introduce the solution. What's the solution? You resist, you say no. But they don't give an option. They say this is an obligation for you to do. Now, she is being run because she didn't come up with this herself. She's a Brennan acolyte, and you usually don't have congressmen and senators doing anything together. They kind of hate each other. So in order to organize this had to have had some sort of handler telling her what to do. And it was risky because nothing like this has ever been done in the history of the country. And you can even tell because the media was skeptical and they couldn't answer the question. So they hadn't even been read in on the operation. You see them fumbling and stumbling. And I'm glad that the U.S. military is now investigating this guy, Kelly, because this is what we expect from Donald Trump 2.0. You can't have the deep state interfering with a duly elected presidency and get away with it. You got to draw the line in the sand, and you have to make examples out of people.
刚才威胁五角大楼调查立法者的这个亚利桑那的参议员的 CNN 的记者就问他说：“哎，你怎么没参与此事？你怎么没跑出来呼吁？你既然这么支持哈？”然后他说：“哎，我其实拿到这个剧本了哈 ，script， 我本来拿到这个脚本了，本来我要去说的。”但是我刚好中间有事儿什么的，我就没时间就没说成。但是我是支持他们的。
Did you consider why were you not part of this video?
Yeah, actually, so I was part of the first video. The second video is by the time the script got to me and it was in the middle of a lot was going on, I just didn't have time to actually record it. But I'm 100% in alignment with them.
所以可见哈 ，Jesse Waters 说的这个两个 CIA 的吹哨人爆料是正确的，就是说他们确实是有剧本的，这就是一个合谋嘛。所以这就是合谋煽动叛乱。如果在这样的情况下我们不追究的话，真的国将不国。
One of my big rules always is, how would I feel if, the other team did this? And I'm going to tell you flat out, as much as I despise Biden or Obama, if Republicans did this, I would be utterly disgusted. There's no way around it. This is as horrifying and as seditious, and it makes us look weak around the world. This makes us ripe for attack. It makes us ripe for instability. This is a bigger deal than people realize, and it makes me ill.
Yeah.
所以一个之前克林顿总统的军事助理哈，他自己说我服役了20多年，我曾经提着这个克林顿总统的核足球的核提包的，我曾经一直在白宫服务的哈，他是为民主党的克林顿服务的，他说这样的做法是非常可耻的，非常不可以接受的一个做法。我希望现在的国防部长、战争部长 Hexas 必须要对他们绳之以法。如果不对他们绳之以法的话，很难想象这个国家到底会怎么样。这个国家会成为非常软弱、非常可欺负、非常没有执行力的一个国家。
Hey everybody, this is Buzz Patterson. I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, retired Air Force pilot, combat veteran, and at one time I was the military aide to President Bill Clinton and carried the nuclear football and actually lived in the White House. So I've been around. I was actually, during my military service, deployed to 70 countries and fought in 3 wars. So I feel like I've got a dog in this hunt. I am very appalled at what the Sedition 6 has done with their video. I think it's a violation of their oaths of office, and especially in the case of Senator Mark Kelly, I believe it's a violation of the UCMJ, and I hope that President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth hold them accountable. They are violating, and they are politically using their positions to undercut the command of President Donald J. Trump, and they're circumventing the chain of command. Congress and members of Senate are not in the chain of command. President Trump is, however, as our commander-in-chief. So I fully support going forward with whatever prosecutions are warranted and legitimate, and I think they are on these individuals. They use their positions, military and in the intelligence community, to expose, I think, and put at risk those of us who serve in uniform. I think that what's going to happen is because they violated the military chain of command, people are going to die. They undercut the underpinnings of the military, which is good order and faith and trust in their leadership. And in my estimation, what they did was treasonous and seditionist, and I hope they are prosecuted to the full extent. Again, my name is Buzz Patterson. I served in combat. I've served for 20 years, and I am outraged by what has happened by the Democrats, and I fear for what's going to happen to our young soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines if they choose to violate what is a legal order which will ruin their lives and ruin their careers.
当立法者都做了缩头乌龟，说川普没有发布任何违法的命令的时候，那居然 MSNBC 现在叫 MS 的这个极左端的电视台 Morning Joe 的这个 Joe Scarborough 居然说我很生气，他们怎么能说川普总统没有发布任何非法的命令？他明明发布了，而且他在空军1号上对记者曾经说过说我要发布不合法的命令，我要把这些士兵、国民警卫队还有海岸巡逻队都部署到这些城市去，我可以做任何这样的事情。说他都已经说了他要发布不合法的命令，居然你们都没有胆承认，说你们这帮人简直没用哈。 他说这个话的时候，其他的几个评论员都目瞪口呆的看着他，可见没有人相信他说的这些话。我们可以看一下这一段。
Okay, wrong answer.
Well,
I'm sorry, with all due respect, wrong answer. President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief does have, Jonathan Lemire, wide latitude. Just does. And the Senate can take that up, but he has wide latitude on strikes. Ask Barack Obama and drone strikes. Ask George W. Bush and drone strikes. But where we know the president has said, I am going to give illegal orders to people in the military, is when he was on Air Force One, coming back, I forget where he was coming back from, but he said, I can send the Marines, I can send the Army, I can send the Air Force, I can send the Coast Guard into any city I want to control crime. And the courts can't do anything about it. That's illegal. It's just illegal. And so Democrats kind of need to, if the president has already said, I'm going to commit this illegal act, then I'm kind of surprised they don't have the answer when they go on a Sunday show for that.
Morning Joe 认为，川普总统如果把这些国民警卫队或者是这些军方的人部署到这些犯罪多的地方去打击犯罪分子，他认为这个是非法的行为哈。但是川普总统，我昨天在视频里解释过，川普总统在10月底就曾经说过，总统依照叛乱法有权利把国民警卫队联邦化，把他们部署到地方去镇压地方的叛乱行为。如果总统认为地方有叛乱的话，所以显然总统的理解跟 Morning Joe 的理解是非常不同的哈。那至少在 Morning Joe 的这个 circle 里头，至少这些左派的评论员也不认为他说的是很正确的哈，大家都非常惊异他的这个提法。所以你可以看到哈，左媒还在试图对美国民众或者美国的军队、美国的情报机构播下怀疑的种子，创造一个环境，让川普总统执政变得更加的困难。但是在这样的情况下，虽然左媒在说川普的民意下降，实际上按照 CNN 的最新的一个民调川普的民意非常的高，比布希第二任期和比奥巴马第二任期支持率高得多。
So is the president losing Republicans?
No. Look, this is still Donald Trump's Republican Party, and we can see it here. It's like a rock, to quote Bob Seger. I mean, take a look here. Republicans who approve of Trump. 6 months ago, it was 87%. Now, well, hello, it's the same number. It's 87%. He has not lost any support among Republicans compared to 6 months ago. As I said at the beginning, he's like a rock. He's like a rock. The Republican base is sticking by Donald Trump at this point in time.
It really is interesting to watch his overall approval rating go down, 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 but see this be completely constant here.
It is among independents. It is not among Republicans.
Okay, so how does this compare to past presidents in a second term?
Yeah, okay. I think this gives the game away, right? Which is Donald Trump, if you look at 21st century presidents' own party approval at this point in term 2, who leads the pack? It's Donald John Trump. 87% of Republicans approve of Donald John Trump. You go back to 2013, 78% of Democrats supported Barack Obama, and it was 78% of Republicans who supported George W. Bush back in 2005 at this point. So Donald Trump has the biggest highest own party approval of any president who served their entire second term in the 21st century.
You could look at this one of two ways. You could say, obviously, he's doing way better than past presidents. Or you could say, there is still room to settle. If there is a reversion to the mean here, if that does fall further, that could chip into his overall approval rating. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning from Congress in January. One of the concerns is that Donald Trump backed someone in a primary against her. How has Donald Trump done in his congressional endorsements?
You know, when you go up against Donald Trump, you're going up against a buzzsaw, because Donald Trump's endorsement record is, it's hard to find anyone else who beats it. Times Trump endorsees won GOP primaries. In 2020, it was 98%. 2022, it was 95%. In 2024, it was 96%. And I will note, the majority of times that Donald Trump backed a challenger to an incumbent like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that challenger won a majority of the time. The bottom line is this. There was a real reason why Marjorie Taylor Greene decided, you know what, it's not worth the fight, because more times than not, when you go up against Donald Trump in a Republican primary, you lose.
Not just more times than not, almost all times.
Almost all of the times, yes.
Based on these. All right, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's saying she's not going to run for president, but there are other questions, which is, hey, Is she going to stay a Republican even? What do the markets think about that?
All right, so we go to the prediction markets here and the chance to leave the Republican Party by January 1st of 2027. You can see it, 31%. I think this is a pretty good baseline, which is more likely than not Marjorie Taylor Greene will stay within the Republican ranks, but there's actually a pretty decent chance that she doesn't. And then that becomes really interesting to see what she has to say about Republicans and Donald Trump in particular if she decides to wave adios amigo.
This is the Republicans, the prediction market saying there is a chance.
There is a chance.
Harriet, and thank you very much.
虽然傻大姐辞职，民主党认为川普失去了共和党的支持 ，MAGA 的支持，但实际上川普仍然是 MAGA 的领袖，也是我们这个国家的确凿无疑的民选领导。OK， 这就是今天的播报。感谢您的收看，感恩节快乐，加油！